Welcome to my scientifically informed insider look at mental health topics. If you find this video to be interesting or helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I'm going to cover some different situations that have occurred with another YouTube channel called The Rewired Soul. This channel is operated by a content creator named Christopher Boutte, and I did a video about him a while back. I'm also going to take a look at the concepts of mercy and justice, because I want this video to be more valuable than just right now in the situation and kind of have a point to it that can be appreciated for some time to come. So I want to clarify some interactions that I've had with Chris from The Rewired Soul and kind of my position on his channel, because I think that's become a little unclear with all the information we see on YouTube and Twitter and other social media. So first I'm going to start here with what happened in the past. So really it's quite restricted. I made a video where I critiqued his channel, and that video I believe was fair, and I stand behind that given the time that it was produced. I mean, things have changed since then, but at the time I produced it, I viewed it as fair. And Chris has actually told me subsequently that he believed it was fair as well, although I think there was a couple points he disagreed with, but generally he agreed it was fair. So what it comes down to in terms of that original review was that Chris really pushes the boundaries with mental health in his channel, and he kind of looks at these, what I call quasi-celebrities or YouTube celebrities, and points out things that he thinks might be going on in terms of mental health symptoms. So it's really sometimes not really even a blurry line, it's crossing a boundary. And I have concerns with it as a mental health professional. And as a YouTube content creator, I had concerns with it, and I put it in that video. So I'm really picking up here with this video. After that video was released, people viewed it, commented, now kind of moving past that. So Chris reached out to me in an email, and he asked if I would be interviewed on his channel, with the intention being that he would be looking for advice from me about how to make his channel operate within the bounds of really, I think, good taste, but also, not offending people. That's what he was really looking at. Like, how can he talk about mental health in a way that's exciting and engaging, but not offend people, not cross the boundary? So I considered this email for a little bit, and I responded to Chris, and we talked on the phone, and I found him to be sincere. I found him to be sincere, and we had a good conversation. And later that day, we recorded a couple of videos, right? And I'll talk about this in a little more detail. So before I get too much further with this part, I just want to say, just to make it clear, and I think this is really a good kind of disclaimer for a lot of mental health videos, I'm not diagnosing Chris or anybody else on my channel. I'm simply talking about questions and concerns related to his channel and the dealings I've had with Chris. So my criticisms are really about behaviors, and I'm not reading into any motivations. I don't know why anything was done. I just know what was done. All right, so now that I have that out of the way, I made two videos that day with Chris, as I mentioned. One was a video where I did give him advice on his channel, and I found it to be sound advice. I haven't edited that video yet, but I recorded it, and from what I remember, I think it was a pretty good video. That video is going to be released on his channel. We also recorded another video which was on borderline personality disorder and CBT and some other topics, where really he asked me questions and I answered as a mental health professional on my channel like I normally do. So I thought that was a good video, but then some other things happened, right? So I put a comment that a viewer left on my channel. I put that on Twitter, and I got a lot of feedback about kind of things that Chris was doing that I was unaware of. And I'm glad people brought this to my attention, so thank you for that. The main area that I was concerned about, though, was one particular post, and I guess actually a few people posted on Twitter, where Chris had written an article on a website named Medium, I believe, and in this article he had a few sentences in there where he referred to me and another counselor named Nate Smith, who also has a YouTube channel. And he said essentially that I said that he did absolutely nothing wrong, and that I never denounced his work. So I had a real problem with this. I actually have a real problem with this. I never said he did nothing wrong. I never said those words, and I never even got kind of near that area, right? I wasn't even in the same galaxy as that. And with the term denounce, I mean, if you look at the technical definition of the word denounce, it's called something wrong or evil, declare something wrong or evil. Well, I get that evil is kind of a moral term. I wouldn't go as far as evil. But wrong, I mean, that's subjective, but we kind of know when we're seeing something that's right or wrong. So I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I didn't denounce his channel in my original criticism. But either way, when you read that article, it kind of makes it sound like I was endorsing Chris's channel, The Rewired Soul. And just to be clear, I did not endorse his channel, and I am not endorsing his channel right now. So he changed the wording on the did absolutely nothing wrong part, and he did not change the wording on the denounce part, but that was never brought up. I think he was kind of focused on the other part based on what was going on Twitter. So maybe he'll change that, moving forward, but that was on there too, and I'll leave it at this. I was displeased at seeing that, right? Not happy. So I'm going to let you know kind of where I stand with things based on what happened with that Medium article. But first I want to detail kind of my thought process, and then I can kind of catch this story up with the current. So when Chris originally emailed me, obviously I agreed to do the videos because I record the videos even though they're not released and not edited yet. Here was my thought process. I had criticisms of his channel. I made a video. Subscribers asked me for the video. I made it. But Chris didn't ask me for that original criticism. So I entered into that discussion by making that video. Fair enough. So he reached out. He asked for help. I looked at the situation. I thought, well, 92,000 subscribers he has. He's clearly not going to close his channel. Again, I criticized his channel on that other video. So it seemed reasonable to me that he would look at that video and say, okay, maybe some of those criticisms are fair, maybe they're all fair, and I'm going to ask for help. It seemed reasonable. So I felt like it made sense to record a video where I give him advice about how to stay in the bounds. With YouTube, I mentioned that before. And just to be clear here, the advice I gave him was about his YouTube channel, nothing like a client-counselor relationship, nothing about mental health, just advice about staying within the bounds on his channel. So again, we add in this thing that happened with the Medium article where misrepresentations were made on his part about me. And this is where I am right now. So we have these two videos kind of in stasis, right? Not edited. And I'm considering kind of how I need to move forward at this point. And here's what I've decided, and I believe that this is reasonable, and I'm going to explain more than just the word reasonable. I'm going to explain really exactly why I think the path I'm taking now is logical and consistent with the values of a professional counselor. So first of all, when Chris misrepresented me, I think he made it difficult for me to put the video on where we collaborated about borderline personality disorder and CBT and all that. Because now that video doesn't really, even though the video I think was a good video, it's not really going to line up with my mission as a channel, right? There's going to be a distraction because people are going to realize that misrepresentation and they're going to realize how I feel about it. And it's just going to be, I think, all about Chris and his channel and not about, again, my message. Trying to encourage flexible thinking and reason and promoting scientific literature and kind of a logical understanding of mental health. Those are all missions of mine. All those are part of the mission, right? And much more, but still I think that that video would detract from my primary message. So I'm going to put that one on hold, and I really want to hear feedback about that decision. Like if you agree with it, if you disagree with it, it would mean a lot to me if you would tell me about that. So how about the other video, the video where I give him advice on how to really clean up his channel and make it so it's sustainable and can be helpful and not, offend people and do all the other things that his channel did. Well, here I decided at this point to allow that video to go on his channel. And I can defend this decision, I think, pretty solidly, not so much on a scientific basis, although I could look at that, but more on a philosophical basis. And this is where I'm really getting into the concepts of mercy and justice, right? So everybody in the world, everybody around us, at some point in their life does something wrong, right? So whether you want to call that morally wrong or evil or just, again, kind of violating a norm a little bit, whatever, people make poor decisions. I've seen, I don't know how many poor decisions in my life, but I've seen a lot, right? This is fairly common. And our society has to deal with those poor decisions at different levels through the concepts of mercy and justice, or if you want to use less dramatic terms, we could say compassion and accountability. Our legal system is really based on balancing mercy and justice, and a lot of our interactions are based on this, right? We deal with people, and we understand they're human, they're going to make mistakes, but we need accountability, but we also show compassion, right? It's the balance. It's how you balance the two that's important. So I reflected on my values here and had a number of discussions with other people, other professionals, and I really thought about this carefully. And I think this is an important point I want to make. This whole idea of mercy and justice and how I have this rational decision-making process that includes those components, this isn't something that came to me in 5 minutes. I really thought this through and applied a lot of reasoning power. Well, as much reasoning power as I can muster anyway. It seemed like a lot to me. So where I kind of came down in terms of like on which side, again, was to allow the video because when I reflected on my values, I thought through my experiences as a mental health professional, and I've seen a lot of unkindness in my life, right? When you work with people who have mental disorders, you see that the way our society treats them. And there's a lot of unkindness, meanness, discrimination, a lot of sometimes even hate. And I don't like it. I don't approve of it. So for me, my bias would be to come down more on the side of compassion than accountability, right? That doesn't mean I'm giving up on accountability, and I'll talk about that. It just means I think as mental health professionals, we tend to be a little bit more compassionate. If you want to look at it a little differently with mercy and justice, I'm just more on the side of mercy than I am in justice, but I know they're both important, right? I know that when people do things that are wrong, justice makes sense too, but mercy is kind of where I'm thinking from my professional point of view, right? As a doctor of counseling, like it just makes sense. So with that in mind, that's how I came to this decision. And in terms of the accountability part, I'm hoping that Chris follows the advice that I gave him in that video. And if he doesn't, I'll make more videos. I'll hold him accountable to the extent that I can. Again, within reason. I'm not the YouTube authority, right? My job isn't to go out and make sure that every mental health channel is doing a good job. But because Chris invited this, and he's essentially inviting my scrutiny, then to whatever degree I can, within, again, reason, I'll try to hold him accountable by making videos. My hope is that he follows the advice and his channel turns things around, and he does well. I'm willing for him to succeed and not take any credit for that, and I'm willing for him to fail and not take any responsibility for that, right? Because it's not my responsibility. Everybody's got to make their own choices. That includes Chris and whatever he does with his channel. Another concern I want to address, and this is all kind of tied in, is that some people have expressed concern, and I think this is genuine concern. I don't think it's done in any type of mean way. But they've expressed concern that maybe Chris is manipulating me. So I think I can address this pretty directly and not really have to make this a long section of the video. I've had a number of people, because of my line of work, try to manipulate me. That doesn't mean it's impossible to manipulate me, but I would say that it would be exceedingly difficult, right? Because I'm always on the alert for that. When you deal with certain personality disorders and other disorders, manipulation is very common. So this has nothing to do with Chris, of course, right? I'm not saying he's manipulative or has a disorder that's related to manipulation. I'm saying that people have warned me that I may be manipulated in this situation, and I'm saying that that's unlikely, right? Probabilistically, that's really unlikely. I've seen so many different tactics that I spot manipulation right away. Again, I'm not manipulation proof, and I appreciate the warning, but I feel pretty comfortable that I'm maintaining a very solid boundary here, right? And that's what's really critical. That's actually a good defense against manipulation. Keep your boundaries. It's actually a crucial defense for keeping manipulation at bay, right? So my boundaries are clear. I've made them clear here in this video, and I'm going to proceed as I've indicated here, and I think that it's reasonable, and I think it's consistent with my balance of mercy and justice. Another concern I want to bring up here is that a lot of people are unhappy with Chris's behavior, and we see a lot of vitriol, really, right, on social media, people saying unkind things and all this. And really, I'm unhappy too. I mentioned I'm displeased with the misrepresentation. So I can relate. I can relate to the frustration. So why help him at all, right? That's the question I get. So I think people understand why I wanted to help initially when I got that email, but now after the misrepresentation is clear, why do I still want to help? Well, here's what it comes down to. Not only the mercy justice component and having room for forgiveness, right? But whether I like it or not, or whether anyone likes it or not, Chris has touched on an important issue with his boundary crossing and mental health in YouTube. He simply has. Somebody, I guess, was going to do it first, and it seems like it was him. So how do we mention YouTube celebrities when we're talking about mental health topics? How do we mention trending videos when we want to discuss mental health? What are the rules? What are the boundaries? Can we talk about people at all? Can we use them even to open the discussion? We don't really have all these rules worked out. So Chris's channel, The Rewired Soul, has really become an important test case. And I think it's so important that I don't like the idea of just turning my back and letting it go. Although I'm certainly willing to, and I should note that was a decision I almost came to instead of the one that I did come to. So it was close there for a bit. But with everything weighed in the balance, I think I'm making a good decision based on a rational process. And I'd like to see what the rules work out to be, right? This area of YouTube that's really unmapped with mental health, we want to see how these rules kind of shake out. I want to have a say on what these rules are. And of course I can do that for my own channel. I stay very far away from that boundary. If you've watched my channel before, you know I'm really careful whenever I'm talking about other people. And I never pretend to know what their motivations are. Another thing to think about here too is, are there different rules for a professional like me and an educator and an interested party, right? And where would somebody like Chris kind of fall in terms of that? Clearly he's not a professional, but is he an advocate? Is he an educator? Or just somebody who's interested in this area and talking about it? So there's all these tiers and there's a lot to consider here. So I really wanted to make this video to address all these concerns, to talk about mercy and justice, and also to give you an idea of how my thought process works. To let you know that I appreciate that I'm dealing with controversial and sensitive material, and I take care, right? I'm careful. I'm cautious as I proceed through these steps, and I don't just upload videos because I feel like it without really thinking about what I'm saying, right? My words, whether I want them to or not, matter, at least on my channel, right? And they matter to me, and they matter to other people, and I just have a lot of conscientiousness as part of my personality, I guess, so it comes natural to me to be careful. So you could look at my kind of rational thought process, and you can look at it and think, okay, well, it makes sense to me. Maybe it's a little frightening at times. Again, high conscientiousness comes with positives and negatives, right? So, but I hope that whether I come to the right conclusion or not, I hope that you get something from looking at my process, that my thought process and the way I work things through makes sense. As with all my videos, I really appreciate feedback. I think this one is particularly important for feedback because it's kind of a ongoing issue, and again, it's like an uncharted area, uncharted terrain. So if you have thoughts on this, as always, I appreciate those thoughts being put in the comments. I would like to see really interesting and helpful dialogue emerge from this, and I'm pretty sure that one will. So I also want to take a moment here and thank you if you're a subscriber to my channel. If you're not a subscriber, I would encourage you to subscribe if you find this type of content to be interesting or helpful. I certainly appreciate it. As always, I hope you found this description of mercy and justice and what's going on with the Rewired Soul and all this to be interesting. Thanks for watching.